Won't kick it on me and go for three on you. You couldn't guard me with the cleanest armor. I got it covered, D's corner. I'm the top dog in the league, homie. Let's speak on it. It's a stretch for anybody to reach on me. Just breathe on it. Don't.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to D's Corner. I'm D. Today's video, we're going to talk about the AFC North offseason recap. We're going to give grades to each team in the AFC North. We're going to talk about everything offseason related, free agency, trades, and the draft. Before we get into the content, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Also, check out my guy, Static Spaz. He got a website, staticspaz.com. The link is in the comment section below. All right, let's get into it. First up, we got the Baltimore Ravens going into the offseason. They lost Marshall Yonder, their all-pro guard, so they needed offensive linemen. It's kind of hard to see how you can make this team better. They had the best record in football last year. They had a pretty solid defense, but Derrick Henry ran straight through them and ran them up out of the playoffs. You can ask Earl Thomas that. But overall, they had a pretty good offseason, probably one of the best offseasons. So my player spotlight is going to be Calais Campbell and J.K. Dobbins. Calais Campbell came over in a trade during the free agency period. J.K. Dobbins was their second-round draft pick out of Ohio State. In Calais Campbell, they're getting a 6'8", 300-pound, 5-time Pro Bowler, can rush the pocket. He's disruptive. He can get in the throwing lanes, how big he is. It's definitely a Derrick Henry stop trade. He should command double teams, which will help out the edge rushers, help their young linebackers. He's free to make plays in the run game. Definitely helps that talented secondary as well. It's a great steal for a fifth-round pick. When you get someone of his caliber, with his veteran leadership and the type of person he is, perfect trade. And you only gave up a fifth-round pick for an already scary defense. Calais Campbell is definitely going to make this team that much better, that much dangerous on defense. And it's almost like you can't stop them. And J.K. Dobbins, they're getting a 5'10", 212-pound back with 4.4 speed. He had 38 career rushing touchdowns, only 5 career receiving touchdowns. But he's coming from Ohio State, who's been producing running backs. He broke Eddie George's single-season rushing yard record. And I honestly believe if he hadn't gotten hurt in the Clemson game, that Ohio State beats Clemson. He has power, speed, agility, balance, nose for the end zone. He was a lot of people's running back one in this past draft. And just watching his film, he reminds me of a lot of Mark Ingram. He should be able to help keep Mark Ingram fresh. One of the reasons they lost to the Titans in the playoffs was because Mark Ingram was hurt. They didn't really have a valuable running option behind him. He understands how to set up his blocks. He hits the hole hard and fast. He's coming from a heavy RPO system at Ohio State, so he should fit perfectly in Greg Roman's offense and should contribute immediately. Him, Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, the speed that they have at wide receiver with Hollywood Brown. This was already the best record team. They had the best rushing attack. This team is dangerous. This team got that much more dangerous. And the way that the Chiefs are unable to stop the run, you see the Colts game, having J.K. Dobbins against them really closes the gap and really helps Lamar Jackson out. All right, the Baltimore Ravens offseason recap grade for me is an A. They had the best record in football last year, the MVP, the best rushing attack. They added a dynamic running back. They added weapons on defense. They beefed up their defensive line to stop Derrick Henry and the rushing attack. They added 2 young linebackers. Patrick Queen was probably the best middle linebacker they've had since Ray Lewis retired and C.J. Mosley left in free agency a couple years ago. But this team was already dangerous last year. They've done everything in their power to help Lamar Jackson get over the playoff hurdle. And if he gets over that playoff hurdle and they start playing good football and continue to play good football in January, this could be a team to watch out for in the Super Bowl. Next up, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. They had the #1 overall pick, worst record in the league. They had a rookie head coach. AJ Green was hurt for most of the year. During free agency, they stocked up on secondary help. Mackenzie Alexander, Von Bell, Trey Waynes. But for free agency, the best player that I think they picked was DJ Reader, formerly of the Houston Texans. And in the draft, of course, the #1 overall pick, going to lead this team now, is Joe Burrow, the national champion LSU Tigers. And DJ Reader, they're getting a 6'3", 347-pound mountain of a man inside. He has 6.5 career sacks, but he's going to eat up space. He's going to help Geno Atkins try to slow down that Baltimore Ravens rushing attack. As a Colts fan, I'm glad to see him leave. He's very, very stout against the run, but he can push the pocket too. Definitely going to help this young defensive team moving forward. And Joe Burrow, the #1 pick, they're getting a Heisman Trophy winner. He had 5,671 yards, 60 touchdowns, and only 6 picks. 368 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. He beat 4 top 10 teams and last lost Thanksgiving weekend of 2018. Oh yeah, he did all that while already running an NFL offense. He's a hard worker. That shows from how great a season he had this past year. He has nice touch on the ball. Seems like he always keeps his cool. He has escapability, always keeping his eyes downfield, looking to make plays. He has enough juice where he can run and move the chains. He's an Ohio kid, and I think he's the perfect building block to attempt to change that culture in Cincy. They haven't had a dynamic quarterback since Carson Palmer, and he was dynamic with his arms. Joe is dynamic, period. He is tough, and if they continue to build around him, I believe he has all the ability to fight for that AFC North crown and make the playoffs. The Cincinnati Bengals offseason recap grade for me is a B. Defensively, they added a really good running mate for Geno Atkins. They already had depth at defensive end. They have young linebackers in Jermaine Pratt, who they drafted in 2019. Logan Wilson, their 3rd-round pick out of Wyoming this year, could potentially lead this team in tackles. He just has a nose for the football. Akeem Davis-Gaither is a 4th-round pick from Appalachian State, who's a sideline-to-sideline chase and tackle linebacker, and he's really good in coverage. They have potential in the secondary, bringing in a lot of young veterans. Like I stated earlier, Mackenzie Alexander, Trey Waynes, who were teammates in Minnesota, as well as Von Bell, who played for the New Orleans Saints. Their offense has a good leader at quarterback on a rookie deal, a good running game, and weapons at receiver. AJ Green, Auden Tate, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and John Ross, who's now 4th or 5th on the depth chart. But if he makes this team, his speed could be utilized better, and he could end up shining. This could be a team who breaks its culture and chooses to start spending in free agency in the coming years due to a talented young quarterback. Maybe AJ Green gets traded for some assets as he is up there in age and should be allowed an opportunity not to go through a rebuild. That could help both him and the team out. Joe has a young core of skilled players that he can grow with, and this team could definitely be on the rise if that culture changes. Next up, we got the Cleveland Browns. They went in needing offensive line help. Baker Mayfield struggled tremendously last year. He didn't have enough time. He just looked completely different than he did his rookie year. But my player spotlight is going to be Austin Hooper, tight end they got in free agency. And, of course, their #1 pick, Jedrick Wells, the right tackle, actually going to play left tackle from Alabama. And Austin Hooper, they're getting a 6'4", 254-pound tight end. He had 75 catches, 787 yards, and 6 touchdowns last year. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He works the middle well. He's a proven weapon and should help out Baker Mayfield tremendously. And Jedrick Wells, they're getting the best offensive lineman on a lot of people's boards in this past draft. He played right tackle at Alabama, but he's going to protect Baker Mayfield's blind side. Great run blocker, great pass blocker, perfect pick. The Cleveland Browns offseason recap grade for me is a B. They filled necessary holes. They added protection for Baker Mayfield. They added 2 tackles that are great at run blocking to go along with their 2 dynamic running backs. That should open up the passing attack for Jarvis Landry and OBJ, Austin Hooper. They also drafted a tight end, Harrison Bryant, which has made David Njoku ask for a trade, which means they could get more draft capital or assets to help build this team. I also like, in consecutive years, the best LSU Tiger defensive back fell to them in Grant Delpit, who should probably play free safety with Carl Joseph playing down in the box. Delpit can move around. He's very athletic. He's a very, very, very talented defensive back. Can play in the slot, can play deep, can play down in the box. A lot of people talked about his tackling last year, but he did have a shoulder injury. Jordan Elliott from Missouri. A lot of teams had him as a 2nd-round pick, and they were able to pick him up in the 3rd. Like I said, also Harrison Bryant out of Florida Atlantic. Him and Austin Hooper should form a nice 1-2 punch at tight end. And David Njoku, trading him right now, it just seems like the best thing to do. He's in the last year of his contract. You might as well get something for him if you're going to let him leave next year anyways. Next up, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. They didn't have a 1st-round draft pick because of the trade for Minka Fitzpatrick. Big Ben got hurt last year, but the defense carried them last year. It performed lights out and really kept them in the thick of things because they could have ended up tanking after Big Ben went down with no viable options at backup quarterback. My player spotlights are going to be for free agency, Eric Ebron, tight end formerly of the Colts, and in the draft, Chase Claypool, the wide receiver out of Notre Dame. This guy's a freak. And Eric Ebron, he was hurt most of 2019, but his 2018 stats, he had 66 catches, highest of his career, 750 yards, highest of his career, 13 touchdowns, highest of his career. He can make crazy catches, but for every one amazing catch, there are multiple drops. And Chase Claypool, they're getting a 6'4", 238-pound, 4.42 speed receiver who had 1,037 yards, 13 touchdowns, and in my opinion, he's the best pick the Steelers made in this draft. He can line up out wide or in the slot, somewhat like Eric Ebron as a move tight end, but has freakish size and speed. Only other human that big moving like that was Calvin Johnson. I'm not comparing him to Megatron, but he's a nice piece in the AFC North. The Pittsburgh Steelers offseason recap grade for me is a C. The Steelers had one of the oldest offensive lines. Their quarterback is older, coming off a major injury. He had major surgery to his throwing elbow. They did nothing to infuse some youth into this offensive line. They did get a few weapons. I do like the pickup of Eric Ebron, as he's an athletic tight end and can make plays, but he can also kill drives. So he can have you at the highest of highs with some spectacular catches and have you at the lowest of lows with like routine drops. I really like the pickup of Chase Claypool. I feel like he'll be able to open up the field for Juju and this running game. That guy is huge. He is nasty. He's built like a freak and can withstand the punishment of the AFC North. But this team is built on defense, and this defense carried them last year with the healthy Big Ben and minimum additions to his surrounding core and his weapons. This team could easily be in that 7th slot for the playoffs. And once playoff season rolls around, anything goes and anything can happen. This team still has a veteran head coach and a veteran leader at quarterback and could be dangerous if they make it to the playoffs. This defense can almost assuredly ensure that they do, in fact, make it to the playoffs. They had a decent offseason, nothing spectacular, nothing splashy. So, again, they get a C from me. All right, that's the end of the video, guys. Thanks for watching. I truly, truly, truly appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Also, don't forget to check out staticspaz.com. The link is in the comment section below. All right, I'm out. Holla.
I'm the top dog in the league, homie. Let's speak on it. This stretch for anybody to reach on me. Just breathe on it, don't tell them. They gotta know it's me on it. Won't kick it on, even go for 3 on you. You couldn't guard me with the cleanest armor. I got it covered, D's corner. I'm the top dog in the league, homie. Let's speak on it. This is a stretch for anybody to reach on me. Just breathe on it, don't tell them. They gotta know it's me on it. We don't kick it on, even go for 3 on you. You couldn't guard me with the cleanest armor. I got it covered, D's corner, like, yeah.